Hi, I'm Daniel, founder of Pretty Litter. Did you know cats tend to hide symptoms of sickness and pain? I learned this the hard way after losing my cat, Gingy. So I created Pretty Litter, a health monitoring litter that helps detect early signs of illness by changing colors, saving you money and potentially your cat's life. Pretty Litter is veterinarian developed, and it's the easiest way to keep tabs on your fur baby's health right at home.
Go to prettylitter.com and use code SPOTIFY for 20% off your first order and a free cat toy. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
Empire. How you watch sports, it's changing rapidly.
The other thing is by cutting out the middleman, whether it is an RSN or a TV network, or for that matter of fact, an Apple or a YouTube or a Prime, they actually also get all the data.
That's Wim Sweldens, co-founder and CMO of Kiswe, who's helping teams navigate the modern way to reach fans in game presentation and content. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. There are teams who have ditched a regional network and put their games on the age-old over-the-air model recently. As the marketplace fractures more and more, teams and leagues are fighting for eyeballs and trying to serve their fans as broadly as possible. And that's where Kiswe comes in. Our guest this week is Wim Sweldens. He's the co-founder and the CMO of Kiswe, which is an award-winning technology company that builds and powers direct-to-consumer streaming platforms and events used by the biggest entertainment and sports brands. We are in a new age of sports media distribution, and it's the right time to speak to Wim Sweldens. How are you, Wim? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Looking forward to our conversation.
Let's just start with what Kiswe does and what the purpose of the company is.
Yes, so Kiswe is a direct-to-consumer streaming company, and what makes us different from many other streaming companies is that, first of all, we work with content owners, and it could be sports, but it doesn't only have to be sports. We also do entertainment and music and influencers, and what we allow them to do is literally skip any middle person and go directly to their fans, directly to consumers under their own brands, using their own website, using their own app, and really build a more intimate connection between their content, their brand, and their fans. And so we are a technology company, but we also are more of what we like to call direct-to-consumer business partner, where we help people to literally reach their fans. And the whole point of direct-to-consumer is literally to cut out the middle person. If you are, let's say, an NBA team or an NHL team or any team, and you want to and maybe your rights deal is up for renegotiation, you might want to think it's like, hey, do we make another deal with a TV network or with a cable company or with an RSN? Or do we really take our brand and our fans and directly get to know them, get the data, get to create a direct link? And then often teams is like, yeah, but I don't really know how to do streaming. I don't understand the technology. I don't know how to operate it. I don't know how to market it. I don't know how to sell it. And then we say, but we do. And that's sort of what we do.
Okay. I want to talk about the marketplace in general, because this is a very interesting time in content distribution, obviously, with the fractured environments that exist, which is where the come for a company like yours. But let me start with the technology. When you go to these companies, obviously, they're going to want the best of the best for their customers. That's what they're accustomed to seeing, whether it's through a regional sports network or an Amazon or an ESPN. Can you talk about how you provide the type of technology that they expect for their content?
Yeah. So we tend to really pride ourselves on our technology. Ultimately, many of us in a founding team, we are technologists, and we started this company as a technology company. And what we like to do is to make sure that the fans have the best possible experience. They could be on different devices. They could be on mobiles. They could be on tablets. They could be on smart TV. We want to make sure, first of all, they get high quality content. I mean, low latency content, no buffering, high quality, good encoding, good audio. That's sort of the first thing we do. We want to make sure we do this globally, because we literally serve events and do content all over the world. And then we have been a cloud native company from day one. So everything is done with sort of the latest versions of the technology. And then the other thing that we do that sort of distinguishes us from other companies is that we really want to engage the fan. In the sense, I sometimes like to say that sometimes our main product is not just the streaming, but it's also a feeling. It's a feeling that when you watch an event, you become part of the event. I mean, you get to participate in the event. You get to pick your own camera angle. You get to chat. You get to participate. You get to add polls and quizzes. It depends a little bit on the type of content, how much engagement is really required or necessary. But the fact that we create sort of an interactive system, it's really a two-way type of system. It's not just about bringing content to, thousands or sometimes millions of fans around the world. It's also, how do you take those fans that are sitting at home or sometimes by themselves, how do you make them feel like they're part of the larger community? And how do you sort of bring them back to the event to create a like what I like to call a two-way streaming experience?
As for the delivery of it, obviously, let's just take a sports brand. People are accustomed to a game presentation. And to your point, teams could then tweak this presentation to whatever they feel suits them. Still, there's going to have to be professionals who've been involved with the distribution of this brought over. As they work in your system, is it similar? Is it different to what they would be accustomed to if they worked for a more traditional network that was disseminating the games themselves?
Yeah. So we work in different ways. I mean, like the basic way in which we work with a local production company, or we work with somebody who sort of covers the game, so has a play-by-play. Like I know you know that well, play-by-play, color commentary, local on site, and the production is done, let's say, a traditional way. We can work that way. We get the signal and we then distribute it to the end users. That's one way of doing it. But we also have sort of pioneered some of the newer, let's say, cloud-based ways of production, where we have capabilities to do truly a cloud-based production where people like announcers and commentators can work at home and can work remotely, which is one a benefit. But the other benefit is that we can also do many sort of simultaneous, what we like to call altcasts of a particular thing. So yes, it's still professionals involved, but it's maybe different ones because not everybody watches the game in the same way. I mean, some people are fan of the home team or the remote team. Some people are experts on the game and know all the details. Some people are novices of the game. Some people are older demographic, younger demographic. So we can also customize the way how the game is produced and announced to the particular audience. I mean, there could be language support, there could be cultural support. Sometimes we have people who are really influencers call the game, and they really activate the younger audience. So the whole point is to make sure that we can customize and personalize the content to the end users while still working hand in hand with traditional production companies.
Okay, let me ask you a big, broad question, because this whole marketplace is changing. It almost feels like daily. There are a number of regional sports networks that went bankrupt recently. That's affected Major League Baseball. There are other teams that are going back to traditional over-the-air broadcasting because they're finding that that's a better deal in the here and now for them to get their games to a larger audience. This is a vague question, but where is this all going? Have you kind of figured that out yet?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, a couple thoughts on that, and I think we have a view on this. I mean, yes, this market is in a very rapid, massive transition. Like you said, you see the change pretty much every day. To maybe focus in on the regional market for a moment, as you said, some of the regional players have bankruptcy issues or solvency issues. And the reason for that is that there is more and more cable cutting going on. There's more and more people entering the market through our cable networks. And therefore, for an RSN network, the traditional equation, it just doesn't close anymore. I mean, that's what we've seen in public. So that brings a number of challenges. So now thinking about it from a team perspective, well, what the team really wants is looking at reaching the maximum number of audience. And therefore, one of the models that emerged that we've been supporting is what people now call the beam and stream model, where in a way you sort of almost go back in time and you make a deal with an over-the-air provider because there's people who like to sort of watch content in that way, and it obviously allows you to reach a much wider audience than you would with people who have a cable subscription. And that's often sort of a more traditional or sometimes older demographic. But at the same time, you have a younger growing demographic who grew up in the digital world, who are familiar with apps and streaming and digital devices and so on. So that's sort of typically where we come in. We often partner with an over-the-air player, and we love partnering with over-the-air players. We don't see them as competition at all. We see them as a way to complement the service that we bring. And this way, a team can reach the maximum audience in their independent of whether they have a TV with rabbit ears or whether they have a smartphone. It doesn't matter. And therefore, the beam and stream model has sort of emerged itself, particularly in the recent NBA and NHL seasons, as a viable, if not preferable, alternative to the traditional RSN model.
This episode is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. In breaking news, leading scientists worldwide are conducting experiments to determine if Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the perfect combination of peanut butter and chocolate. However, it appears the study was inconclusive, as the scientists couldn't help but eat all the Reese's. Because when you want something sweet, you can't do better than Reese's. Find Reese's now at a store near you.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Future Sport is a presentation of Empire Media, a B2B and B2C podcast and digital company dedicated to making your business or brand be heard. Internal or external content creation that will have a lasting impact on your strategy, consulting, creation, and production, all to help you effectively communicate your message in any marketplace. Learn more at empiremedia.com, AMPIRE media.com. Is this standard now? Because all I think about is contracts, being the rights fees being what they're worth in this space, that I would assume that if companies are paying the rights fees to show the games, they want to have ownership of that. So how is all the teams and how are companies like yours thinking about rights fees for these teams and large packages from providers?
So from a rights fees perspective, I mean, it's a little bit less our position we have in the market, but yes, obviously people who buy rights want to have a certain level of access or sometimes exclusivity around it, which is typically, again, the RSN model. The reason why that model sort of doesn't work as well in the new times is that, yes, they can have exclusivity, but they have a shrinking user base. So if it's exclusive, then there's a lot of people who don't buy a cable package who are literally excluded from the market, even though they might be diehard fans, so they could become diehard fans. They simply can't watch it. And therefore, I think if you look at the partnership with the over-the-air providers, they understand this. They understand there is a beam and stream model, and they understand that sort of we are not competition for them either. We sort of complement each other, and the point is to reach the maximum number of fans and engage them and bring them also additional content. The thing is with a TV channel, well, you have typically there is the game, it's at this slot and it's programmed, and you switch on the TV, you can watch the game. But with a digital channel or with a digital site, there's so much more that you could do. We do a lot of video on demand. We do highlights. We do replays of games. We do interviews with the coaches. And if you look, for example, what we did with the Jazz, we launched what they call Jazz Plus. We have incredible engagement. I mean, 20,000 subscribers in the first season, very rapid growth, and then more than half of them literally come back every day, even though there's not a game every day. But they want to see the interview with the coach. They want to see the replays. They want to see some highlights. They want to see other type of things. And that's a level of engaging a digital fan that you simply don't have on a TV.
Yeah. Team produced media is not new. That's been happening for a long time. What you're offering here is a better solution for higher quality team produced media. Is that how you're kind of framing all of this?
I think it's higher quality is for sure part of it, because we do pride ourselves in bringing very high quality, but it's not only that. It's also to make sure that the team, let's say like the Jazz, they have the Jazz Plus site. The fans go there, they come back regularly. There's fresh content pretty much every day available on there, and there's monetization opportunities. Sometimes we make deals with e-commerce providers or with apparel providers or merch and things like that. So there's a lot of different ways in which a team or a league can engage with the fans and drive monetization. And the other thing is by cutting out the middleman, whether it is an RSN or a TV network, or for that matter of fact, an Apple or a YouTube or a Prime, they actually also get all the data. And one of the key things for a brand is you got to know your audience. You got to be able to reach them. You got to be able to segment them. You got to be able to sort of service them. And one of the key advantages of D2C is all the data that you gather. And with that data, we do a lot of AI. We do studies of the data. We study churn. We study user behavior. We study sentiment. All of this thing is like a very rich treasure trove for a brand to get to know the users and drive monetization.
Yeah, if you could expound on that a little bit. We've learned through technology in many different forms. In this way, the way tickets are being serviced now, where teams are finding out a lot about their fans and their behaviors just by doing digital ticketing with them, that you actually get to know your fans in a much more intimate way than you probably ever have in the past.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that often one of the key sort of decision points that a team has, whether they want to go D2C or they want to go to a middle person, whether it be a digital player like a YouTube or an Amazon or an Apple or a TV player, the ability to access that data and get that per user data and analyze it is often the deciding factor in going a D2C model. Because all of a sudden, a team can look at a fan from a 360 degree. Some fans go to the games and buy digital tickets to the games, or they buy merchandising, and maybe the week after they will watch it from home. And all of a sudden, you can build an entire journey of a fan and really figure out how to serve or super serve each fan demographic or each fan segment. So the D2C streaming becomes then a component in the overall branding and marketing of a particular team.
As rights fees come up now, especially in the NBA, and that's going to happen very soon here, is there, I don't know if concern's the right word, but is there an expectation that someone like an Apple or an Amazon is going to do an exclusive rights fee because they have the bandwidth to have all of the games streaming on their library and not cut out the teams from opportunities like this? But I think you know what I mean. Want the exclusivity and not separate each team having its own broadcast, if you will.
Yes, I mean, and obviously I can't speak on behalf of the NBA or one of the big digital players, but it's clear that the sort of FANG-like companies have become more active in sports rights. You know, we've seen Apple doing deals with MLS and things like that. So there is definitely that force in the market at play. And then for some teams and for some leagues, that might be the right way to go. I mean, but again, sort of where we fit in the market is really where teams sort of look at that calculus. Yes, they can maybe work with an Apple or an Amazon and get the rights fee, but still it is in some sense replacing a TV company as the middle person or a TV network with a digital company as the middle person. And it still sort of blocks the teams from getting access to that fan data and being able to use their brand and their content and their engagement and their marketing to get to know the fan. That's sort of the calculus that a lot of teams are doing. But of course, I can't comment on what a particular league like the NBA is thinking about. But the point is the discussions that are happening. These are the discussions that are happening around the beam and stream model, around some of the new players in the market. And it makes for an interesting dynamic market that we love to be part of and we love to compete in.
Okay. Through your partnerships, whatever you can share, what have you learned what teams want in terms of functionality to reach out to their fans? What are they asking to be able to do?
Well, yeah, a couple of things that they want. They obviously want the game to be available to as many people on as many different platforms as possible. That's sort of a key thing we hear from everybody. And we now are on pretty much every smart TV platform, every mobile OS, and every sort of platform you can imagine. So that's the first thing. Second thing, they want very high quality. They want very high quality video, have very high quality audio, adaptive streaming, all of those stuff. Got all that. I mean, then the next thing they often want is like, hey, wait a minute. We have a lot of additional content. We have behind the scenes. We have team interviews. We have press releases. We have coaches commentary. We have player commentary. We have an injured player, but they want to comment on the game. How do we get all that content up? And so then we have quite a bit of sort of video on demand, upload capabilities, CMS capabilities. And then typically the next question we get is like, well, what about the analytics? We really want to know what every single fan is doing. How often do they come back? What type of content do they watch? And we want to also know this real time. So we will actually, during a game, while the game is on, you will literally know exactly how many people are on, how many people are on a mobile, on Android, on iOS, on Smart TV. All of that you will know. For some of the games, we also allow chat and social interaction. We then have an AI-driven capability where the team can actually know the sentiment of the chat. So they will say like, hey, the audience is excited, or they're disappointed, or they're happy, or they're sad. And so we can get a sense as to what the sentiment is. We can also tie in brands and ads. It's like, what is the reaction to a particular ad? How many people are activating that brand? And so there is a treasure trove of data, and a lot of the requirements we've been getting over the last couple of months is to get more data, more analytics, more live, more real time, and more AI-driven insights.
And I don't know if this is coming your way or if the teams are fielding this, but I wonder if you've had feedback from fans. Are they telling you what they want the technology to be able to do?
Yes, we actually get quite a bit of feedback from fans, because for many of the projects we work on, we also provide the customer service for it. I mean, so sometimes the fan is like, hey, my Roku app isn't working, can you help me out? And so we do a lot of those type of things. But we also get some amazing feedback where fans are just excited. They're like, hey, this is just so cool. I can see it this way. I can engage with my friends. I can watch it on my device. I'm watching it on my big screen TV at home, and now I need to jump in the car, or I got to watch it on the road, and I can just continue to watch it that way. So we get very good feedback from fans who are really excited about it. We see the same thing in the sort of creator space when we watch with YouTubers who are excited, but their fans are excited. We also, as you may have seen, we do a lot of work in K-pop streaming, for example, and I'm not a fan of K-pop at all or an expert on it, but the K-pop fans are just loving the ability. We have like, what's your favorite person in the boy band or in the girl band, that you can personalize your viewing depending on who is your favorite singer in a particular band. And people rave about that. You just go on social media and you see all those kind of comments. So to be sort of, for me personally, as sort of the founder of the company, we had this vision 10 years ago. To see it realized now and then reading those fan comments, it's immensely rewarding.
Wim Sweldens is the co-founder and the CMO of Kiswe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
On the next Future Sport podcast, athletes are selling IPOs in their careers.
What we did is we took, that kind of concept and brought it to life with this investment platform. So how stocks rise for these athletes, what we do is we have an athlete sign a brand agreement with us, which is basically an agreement that the athlete signs away a portion of their on-the-field income to that brand agreement. We then take that brand agreement and we securitize it as an asset with the SEC. So just like you can invest in Google, Apple, and Facebook.
That's Parker Graham. He and partner Eve Batoba will introduce you to their marketplace, Vestable. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.